Recording in progress.
Yes. Well, today on the Unity project, I have John Kai Herbert back again. He is a really incredible relationship consultant. And what I love about him is that he he doesn't hold back. He tells you exactly how it is, but in his posts, he may seem like a little bit, I can't even grab the word, but penetrating. There you go. A little bit penetrating, but he's got such a big, warm heart, and it's such a beautiful balance. And I'm really excited to have you on the Unity Project. You were on my old podcast too.
I was. Thank you so much for that introduction. I love that. That was honest. And yeah,
Yeah.
you spot on. Like the stuff that I write is penetrating, and it can be really harsh. But then when you get to know me, excuse me, or you see some of my videos, or you listen to me on a podcast, or you do a session with me, it's like, who is this guy? Who is this guy really? Like he's nothing like what he writes. I actually had a client reach out to me a week ago saying, John, you need to make more videos because if I just saw what you wrote, I wouldn't have worked with you because of just the stuff that you write. I'm like, yeah, you know what? I do need to dial it down a little bit sometimes. I want to make more videos. Like I use the writing as an intellectual defense
Mhm.
to avoid being on video, you know?
Yeah. Oh,
Because
yeah. I know.
video, yeah, you know, like the 100 days, you just finished your 100 days,
And I
right?
have
So
I'm on TikTok and Instagram, so I'm doing videos all the time, and it's like parts of you have to die
yeah.
to really be comfortable to like get up there and speak your truth when you know people are going to be judging or they might misunderstand. You just have to really learn how to hold yourself there.
Totally, totally. And in that space, like there's the room for error is removed. So when I'm typing or
Mhm.
writing
Yeah,
something, I'm like, yeah, cool, I can finesse this, I can change words. Let me pull a thesaurus out and pick some really like some
exactly.
highly credible words. When I'm speaking, I've got all my likes and my ums and my ahs and my pauses and like I feel like I write dunks sometimes. And you know, it's just who I am in that moment. So
Hmm.
yeah,
But it's beautiful. For the 100 days of lives, I really learned a lot about myself.
yeah. What else did you learn? Like that's 100 days of lives. That's a serious achievement. So what did you learn about yourself?
So I learned where I was holding back from expressing my truth and myself. And then I went into why. So I went in and did some shadow work around the whys I was doing that, went into deep meditation about that, and I saw a lot of like, I'm not worthy to be
Yeah.
talking on this, and like people, like just a lot of these old beliefs that I thought I really alchemized that were kind
Mm.
of showing up again because I'm really putting myself out there. So I learned that. I learned how to really open into my self expression.
Mm.
Sometimes I would talk about things that I knew sounded crazy to other people just so I could get really comfortable holding myself in that space where I'm talking about things that are uncertain.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. I kind of learned what it feels like to force myself to show up versus like um, when it's super easy versus like when I may have to push myself, when I'm maybe a little challenged, but it's true to do it anyway. So I got to feel the different frequencies of that.
Mm.
And when to give myself grace. Like if I had a lot going on and I needed to take like a week break or even like didn't have anything to really talk about and the video was really short, just allowing myself to be like, okay, without even beating myself, saying, you need to do your live, you need to do your live. I didn't listen to the loud voice that told me that. I listened to the still small voice that told me that.
Wow, Lauren. That's such a potent medicine that you've just given to yourself,
It
especially
really, I'm so
the take
grateful.
yeah, so especially the taking the breaks, right? Like
Mhm.
oh, I
Oh,
need to show up every day, oh, and then if you have nothing to speak to, it's like, I'm just going to show up. I'm just going to show up and speak to whatever's there. Like that's so potent. Like that alone, like trumps so much, uh, like other types of inner work. Like until you actually put it into practice and actually try and actually put yourself out there, it doesn't integrate. Like you don't get the
mm-mm.
embodiment of who it is you want to become and who you want to
Exactly.
be.
One of
Like
my
makes a
clients
huge
I'm working
difference.
with, oh, sorry.
No, yeah, please go.
One of my clients I'm working with right now is doing that. She feels like she needs to know more and more information before she puts herself out there at all. And that you can't do it.
No,
You have to lean into the fear. I think
have
your
to lean into
videos are
the fear.
great though. The delivery
Thank
of
you.
your videos, like you're still just the right amount of penetrating, and but you have your heart in there, your tone of voice, just your whole aura. And I really love the content you have. Like when you were talking about Baba Yoga, that was great. I really resonated with that one.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I love all those archetypes, like the Baba Yaga and the
Yaga, yeah.
Yaga yoga, and yeah, her in particular
Hmm.
because she's the ultimate version of light and dark, the ultimate.
Yeah.
And this is I've read this. This is the Woman Who Run with the Wolves, and I've done my own research on her as an archetype, and like the part of her that eats children, right, as a as a as a character trait, eats children, and then also challenges people who want to be heroes to, do you really want to be a hero? Do you really want
Mm.
to be all that you are? Because it's going to cost you. Are you ready to pay that cost? You know, and especially in the inner work scene where you do shadow work and whatever it is that you do, until you're ready to let go of who you are, you can't step into who you want to be, right? Like in your 100 days exercise, it's like, okay, cool. Okay. The first day, it's like, oh my God, like all this stuff's coming up, And
Mhm.
every day you step into that new version of you. Now you can, at the 100-day mark, even leading up to the 100-day mark, it's like, oh, I can even like your posture would change, right? You're more leaned back, your heart's out, your throat has got a resonance and uh, a warmth and an embodiment to it. It's like, no, I did this. Like I showed up for
Yes.
myself, and it makes a huge difference. So, but it costs you your old self, right?
Yeah, 100%. I just realized my teacher actually gave me that exercise. My teacher's name is Perry Chase, and she runs a feminine mystery school.
Great.
Uh, but I can see how I can see the Baba Yaga archetype in her. And it's so beautiful the way that she does the work. Like such a deconstructive process before a constructive process. And all the
Yeah.
projections. Let's talk about projections.
Oh, where should we start with projection?
Okay. It's pretty vast. Um, the projections that happen in spiritual work and how we project
Mm,
onto our teachers and all of that. I've experienced that a little bit recently.
yeah. How have you experienced it recently?
How I was projecting onto my teacher,
Right.
right? Like all my little insecurities, like, oh well, she doesn't really like me. She just doesn't see me, you know? Like, and I just got to see them spinning out. So that's interesting. And then I was on the receiving end of it from a client of mine as well. So I got to see it from like both sides around the same time. That was interesting. How do you experience that in your work?
Yeah, sure. So for me, like my core modality is core energetics.
Mm-hmm.
And part of it involves agitating the client.
Okay.
So I create an environment where they have no choice but to get angry at me. And that's the important piece. Is particularly when I'm working with women, um, and they don't know how to get angry at a man, properly angry. And then because we're in like this client therapist type relationship, they don't want to speak to upset me because I might terminate the agreement, right? I don't want to work with you anymore. You're too rude or whatever it is, right? So I push them to an edge where they need to get angry at me. It's like, John, you're full of shit. John, you're this, John, you're that. Like, John, I want to kill you right now. It's like, yeah, cool. All right, tell me. Give me all of your shadow. Tell me all of your lower self. How is it you really feel towards me? And then once they can feel safe with me in that projection space, um, I allow it and I encourage it, then they can wield that anger towards like a partner or somebody else in their life that they've been denying. But then for me, where I project it onto people is I project it onto my potential clients and clients where I think they're not working hard enough. So for me, like I'll look at the field, or I look at people that are in my DMs or message on my stuff or write posts themselves about their relationships or whatever's going on for them. And straight away I'm like, why aren't you perfect yet? Like, get help. Like, I can clearly see you have an issue. Like, go get some help. So for me, I project like this, either like this child upon them, like this helpless child, this helpless victim that doesn't want to get help. And it makes me angry. I'm like, just get the help. So go sort yourself out. Like, why are you still back-to-backing relationships that don't work? I can clearly see from your images and what you post is that you just want attention and you're not willing to actually do the work that you need to do. And that could be correct. It could be complete projection.
Yeah. It's like, how do we know, you know?
Until I actually engage in conversation with the person, right? And go, hey, like, is this, and being open to it. Because when I start poking at a thing, it brings up all of the new self and the old self, right? The battle between the two. It's like, John's poking on something that hurts and I hate him for it. And I'm just gonna like throw him away or unfriend him or do whatever it is that I need to do to get away from this feeling. So that's how projection plays out for me.
That's really interesting. That's cool. I could see that, like seeing that, like, I just edit these parts right out. uh, okay.
It's the human condition, right?
Yeah.
And I think what's really helped me over the years is just remove the morality from it. And it's
Yes.
like, cool, is it good? Is it bad? I don't know. It's how I'm living my life right now. Is it who I want to be? Maybe. Let's just keep on stepping. Let me just keep on showing up, you know? How is it that I want to be?
I love that.
And
That's valuable right there. I
yeah,
think so many
yeah.
people get their Punisher out. Like, oh, I
Big
can't believe
time.
I just projected onto him. What the fuck is wrong with me?
Totally.
I can't believe this. Like, I must not have been doing the work that I thought that I was doing.
Exactly,
And
right?
you're projecting it onto yourself.
Exactly. We can be so hard on ourselves, you know, and then
Yeah.
the throwing out of ego. Oh, it's your ego. Oh, it's your ego. It's like, okay, thank you. Thank you for telling me that's my ego. But
I
that's
wasn't aware.
and using ego as a pejorative, right? Like in the spiritual communities,
Oh.
it's like, oh, that's your ego speaking. It's like, yeah, I'm human. I'm gonna have an ego. Like it's part of my identity. It's who I am.
You wouldn't be
So,
functioning really if you
oh,
didn't do it.
exactly. So taking a product of like philosophy and spirituality and trying to apply it incorrectly to life. Um, it's like, well, yeah, it's my ego. Like either you can love me for it or not. Telling me that you disagree with me via saying it's my ego is not authentic. Just tell me that what I
No.
said pissed you off.
It's a
Yeah,
cop
good.
out.
It's a
Totally.
cop out, total cop out.
Oh
Wow,
my
it pissed me off.
God.
It pissed me off that you said that, John. Thank you. I I I I aim to do that sometimes.
Yes. Triggering
Yeah,
people is sometimes a good thing, you
I
know,
think it is.
because it
Yeah,
makes them think. Like, I know when I get triggered, I'm like, okay, it's a mirror.
mm.
Like,
Totally,
I'm not triggered by something if I don't need to see something about myself.
totally. And I love that you mentioned that there's a piece in triggering where there's like a competition to not be triggered, right? So I'll create something and I can see that someone's upset, and I'll be like, "Are you upset about that?" So no, I'm not upset. No, I'm not triggered by this. It's like it's okay to be. It's okay. Like it's okay to be upset by something. It's not this game, this Olympics where whoever gets triggered last wins, right? It's like no, Get triggered,
Yeah.
like, and enjoy the process of being triggered. The sensations in the body, you know, the things that you can't control. There's someone said something that touches on a piece of hurt of yours, or something that you think is like the ultimate truth. It's like, no, just let it go. Be with it all.
Yeah.
Say that you're pissed off. Say whatever it is, and then move on to the next thing. Go live your life. Go peel an orange and go sit outside or whatever it is. You know.
And as far as the ultimate truth goes and delusion, like a lot of this is all like delusion. Like most of this is delusion. Really. Illusion, whatever. So it's like, okay, this is what I'm choosing to believe, and this person is choosing to believe something on the opposite end of this. So they're going to tell me that I'm delusional. I'm going to tell them they're delusional. We're both delusional
Totally.
because it's just a big ball of light, you know.
Yeah,
But we
totally.
have to we have to participate and engage in these different delusions, and we adopt the delusions that kind of meet and align with who we want to be.
Yeah. Yeah, I love you speaking to the delusional space. Totally, we as humans are meaning-making machines. You
Yes.
can't help it, right?
Mm-mm.
So as soon as you start to deconstruct meanings of things, like for example, like if I'm holding up a little cable here, well, I think it's a cable. Depends on who you're looking at it. Like, what is this? Right, cool. It's a little adapter cable for one of my wireless mics. But another guy could or somebody else could look at it and go, no, it's a 3.5 mil stereo jack with plug at the end with double coil, shielded, you know, and
Hmm.
we
Someone
do
else be
that,
like it's an
right?
electronic.
It's electronic, right? It's a piece of wire, John. What are you talking about? And then we do that with emotions and behavior and everything. It's like this person's walking behind a woman, or a woman's like engaging with a man. It's like, oh, she's cheating on him, or you know, he's stalking her. It's like maybe, maybe not. And
Yeah.
underneath all of that's the piece around um, what you said before around it means something to us, right? It's our way of connecting to our view of the world, reiterating our bias of what we want to see in the world and what makes us safe or what makes us feel the danger that we want to feel, the drama in the moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And people get way too attached to belief systems and identity labels and think that that's them. When, like, for instance, in the work that I do, I work with women in the twin flame experience, and I'm like, look, this is just like a blueprint, a doctrine. You are not a twin flame. We have to say my twin flame this, my twin flame that, just to communicate and speak. But you
Totally.
are not this. This is an experience that you're having, and yes, it may be very intense, but the map is not the territory.
Oh, I
And
love
I
that.
want to
The
show
map.
you the territory inside. I want just holding it up the light,
I
and a lot
love
of
that.
people aren't ready for that.
Yeah, they're
And I
not.
get mad when people aren't ready for that. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, seriously? You're not gonna do this? Like, you fucking need it.
Right.
It's kind of like what you were saying earlier. But then I'm like, okay, simmer down, Lauren.
Mm, totally. And I think that passion's important too, right? Because there
Hmm.
is that part of us that needs to push our like how to be of service. And
Yeah.
how do you want to be of service? Like if you're not passionate behind what you do, there's no conviction in your sales process, right? How can you like a lot of sales is purely about belief transference, right? So if you don't believe that your
Yes.
product is you're passionate about what you do, how can you tell somebody else? You
Oof.
know,
Yep.
an example that I saw recently was people who are indoctrinated into religion. Like all you need to do is convince them that this is the way, and then
Hmm.
they just go out and spread the word. You don't need to like teach them how to do sales. It's the conviction that pulls the person over the line. So that
Yeah.
passionate conviction, like you need to know your twin flame map. yeah, twin flame, how it's been defined in the past is, yeah, sure, it's this. But are you ready? Are you ready to take this step and take this
Your
leap of faith?
experience, right? And there's some like things that are pretty standard, right? That can kind of give us um, structure a little bit to do the deep inner work. But most people don't look at it as a framework.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yes.
know,
And I could
it's
apply
hard
that
to
to
look at it as a framework when you're personally experiencing it. I get it.
it is, and also, and then because I think there's a what I hear is there's been so much conditioning over the years. Like you get conditioned by your parents, go to school, get conditioned, and then you become a reinforcer of that structure and that framework. You become more of like a nodal point to perpetuate the same conditioning, right? And I
Right.
could apply the same thing to like human design and gene keys and Enneagram and all that stuff,
Yeah.
where someone's just looking for an identity. And it's like, cool, oh, I'm a 2, I'm an 8, I'm a 7 level 3, whatever it is. I'm a
Yeah.
I'm a manifester. I'm an Aries rising Scorpio with Uranus, Moon, and Mercury with a with a double sphincter square with a trine to, I don't know, the
It's fun
sun.
to dabble in that stuff,
I
but
and it is, it
yeah.
is, it is, and I enjoy it. Like
I
I'm the
like the
same.
embodied astrology that you posted about. I
Ah,
listened to that, yeah.
yeah, she's great. She's great value. Embodied astrology. Yeah, I give a mad shout out to her. Um, but in all of that the where you end up becoming the framework, there's an unwillingness to step into the unknown to discover who you are.
Yes.
So especially with human design, like if you just, oh, I'm a manifester, and then you take on this thing around, oh, I'm the only one that can initiate, and you need to inform me when you're doing something. Like if you're in a partnership, that's so alienating.
Yeah.
So like a manifest is not self-theme, is anger. So when a manifest is feeling anger, you can either look at it and go, okay, why am I angry right now? You know, this person's telling me something, that initiating me, or it could just be a childhood injury of just not enjoying being told what to do. No, there's like an internal 3-year-old that's throwing a tantrum because somebody
Hmm.
else is asking them to do something. Or is it really who you are as a manifester? Like there's this, who are you really?
And just deep internal reflection is the only thing that's going to tell you that. And having these guideposts and frameworks are helpful for that. You don't want to follow these without looking within.
Yes. Yes.
But yeah,
I
they're
think,
all like, I love the gene keys right now.
yeah, me too. Like I went back to my Venus sequence and
Hmm.
paid particular attention to my SQ and my core. And I've been having these profound realizations, including how I relate to my market.
Okay.
So keys, the core is also the vocation. And for me, I've got gene
Hmm.
key 33 in there. And 33 has got the gift is mindfulness, and the shadow is forgetting.
Or, oh,
So
it's
for
forgetting.
me,
Okay. Hmm.
forget. So for me, like I forget who I am. So I end up trying to find like content in books and online and everything. But my life experience has got like centuries of
Yeah.
content for me, right? Like I try and find a post on attachment or a study on attachment to try and prove who I am. But
Wow,
deep
I
down,
do that
I
too.
know, right? I know.
Wow.
And then in the shadow, the reactive and the repressive nature, like I can get reactive to people that aren't remembering who they are and get angry at them and get frustrated, right? It's like, how could you not know how to be in relationships? Like, how can you not see how
Yeah.
important this is? Or I just repress it, and make it all internal and like, oh, I suck at this. Like, what am I doing? I need to try harder. I need to find another book to show me how to be better at
I
my
feel like you're
better at my
talking
job.
about me right now.
I think so many people are like this,
Yeah.
Lauren. Like we just get like we can conditioned by our parents that you can't be smart unless you read a book or get a credential, and that gets reinforced in high school. Oh,
And
you're not
cool. Right.
you're failing this test, which means you're not going to be able to win at life. And you take it into university, And they don't teach you the bare bones basics of how to live your life, like how to be in
No.
relationships,
The
or
important
how to
stuff.
the important stuff, or how to work with money, for example, like how to
Right.
totally right. I've actually caught up with a local friend who's actually the friend of my father-in-law's, and he's like in his early 20s, and he's a gun at finance, like an absolute gun. And he hasn't gone to university, he hasn't done all these things that you expect someone to be able to educate someone in finance. And he asked me, John, do you ever suffer from imposter syndrome? And I'm like, yeah, his name's Jordan. He said, yeah, you know what? Yeah, I did. I solidly did. Like I felt like I needed more credentials, like more little bits of paper to tell me that I was good at what I did. Until
Yeah.
I started practicing, and people were saying, "Oh my God, John, you're transforming my life. Like, where have you been? Like, this is so simple to me. I've done all this other work, but now you put the pieces together." And I'm like, "Oh wow,
Mm.
that verification is my credential."
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes,
then
it
and
is.
then and then I mentioned to my mum the other day. I said, "John, you need to go and get to." My mum's a mad academic, and so my whole family's in academia. They love getting qualifications for whatever it is, except for one of my other brothers and my other sisters. But my mum and my dad are hugely wanting into qualifications, get a qualification. And I'm like, Mum, I don't want to go to university and get another qualification. Like, I don't need it. Like, I look at professors and I look at people who have gone to like 3 or 4 years into psychology, gone like get a PhD or whatever it is, or whatever they want to do, and they come out and they don't know how to be personable.
Right. And they're
They don't know
making $25 an hour sometimes.
exactly. And this
Masters.
totally, and this is the piece, Lauren, is that when you get a credential, you commodify yourself with everybody else who has the same credential.
Right there. Yep.
Yep. So you need to be able to create your own point of difference as to who you are. And that comes through your expression, your creations. So like for you, like doing that 100 days, you're a completely different person,
Oh yeah.
you know?
I feel
And
really different.
exactly, I see it,
Yeah.
right? Now your energy is completely different to our last
It was probably
podcast and
also the
last.
bufo too. And
I
all the
forgot you
work.
did bufo. I
Yeah.
forgot you did bufo too. Yeah, nice. So in all of that, there's a like just practicing who you are. And I think in the next generation or so, the next decade, we're going to see more and more like people show up in the world
Yes.
who are naturally gifted because they're remembering who they are. Back to my Gene Key 33, it's remembering who they are. And to remember
Mhm.
who you are requires that mindfulness to stop and slow down and be with the body, whether it's meditation, daydreaming. I'm actively participating in daydreaming now instead of grinding one book, one post to the next.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's a rich tapestry. It's so juicy, and I love it.
Yes, it is. Oh, I forgot what I was.
Yeah, please tell me your experience. I used to have a housemate that would serve it. So
Okay, so you've received it before?
no,
Really?
yeah. So part of um, my medicine journey is right now I'm but spirit and divine is like John, animal medicines are not for you.
Mm-hmm.
So plants are just mine at the moment. So I'd love to hear about your bufo
You know
experience.
what's funny about that? Um I practice a like plant-based diet and I still work with the animal medicines.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's
It
awesome.
really took, that's why I waited for a while because I really wanted to see in my heart. I felt called towards it. And I found a medicine man, this couple, actually, this beautiful couple that serve the medicine. They're just in a beautiful divine partnership. And the energy of the ceremony is it's clutch. So yeah, I know that they treat the frogs really well, that they treat otak really well. And he said it's not taken, it's given. The medicine isn't taken, it's given. And
Wow,
his lineage, before I even knew his lineage, I just knew that like I could trust them.
wow,
So yeah, I did. And the first time was that, thank you for asking and letting me share this. I don't know if I really shared this online. Um, so the first time was a ceremony on New Year's Day. And at first I didn't know where it was. And I had this dream that it was at this guy's house that I went on a couple of dates with like last year, and we went skydiving together. We just kind of, we weren't feeling each other, no drama, nothing like that. And I had a dream it was there. So I reached out and I was like, hey, where is it? And they told me, and I looked it up, and lo and behold, it was there. So I was like, shit, should I say anything to him? Should I mention it? Nah, that was over a year ago. It's no big deal. This is like a community space that he's having. And so like I was in my head all about it. And we were supposed to camp there. I went with a friend of mine, Angelina. And the night before, because we were receiving it in the morning, the night before we had like a beautiful circle where everybody connected with each other. And then everybody was just hanging out and being. And I realized something right there where I received a deep healing. I could not hold myself in community. Like a community of like a bunch of intentional people, like my ego was starting to spin out. My friends too, we both had it, and our egos were bouncing off one another, and we were like, let's just leave, we'll come back tomorrow. And it's not like there was anything wrong with like them, but we couldn't hold ourselves. And we realized on the way home, and we were like, oh, that's what happened. And I've been in since I've been in my spiritual awakening process, I've spent a lot of time alone. So this is like my first time. Like I've gone to the drum circle, but the first time where we were all together, like in community. So that was intense. So we came back in the
Wow, I'm feeling the intensity.
yeah. So we
Yeah.
came back in the morning, and it was all love. You know, they weren't upset with us for leaving or anything. And of course, that was just a projection. Like, oh, they're gonna be like, what the fuck did they leave for? You know. And it was really beautiful. There was 13 people at the ceremony, I think, and he beautiful fire, just the vibe was really beautiful. And each person went one at a time, and we got to watch each person's experience, and everybody had different experiences. Some were a little more intense, some were a little less intense. And they got around to me, and this was right after my friend had just had a super intense session. So I said the prayer that they had. I held my own intention and put my own intention in it, and just gave love and gratitude to the frog and all of the ants or whatever that the frog ate. And I received the medicine, and there was you had to surrender. There was no like, oh, I don't want this. No, you just said, okay, boom, you go. And you have absolutely zero awareness of here. You're gone from here completely.
Wow.
And the ego is just gone. And you're in this experience, and it's not, you don't get a lot of visuals. It's very somatic. I think when I went in, I had one quick visual. I saw that like moment really quick, and then I was just in the void or something. And I don't even know. It was just a body experience. And what I was doing outside was I was kicking my legs and letting out really guttural screams. Like right? Like really intense. And then I remember like I had my face in the dirt and everything, and I'm like on the ground, and the medicine man picks me up. He's like, "You okay?" And I'm like, he's like, "I know how you are. You don't have to answer." And he let me back down. And then I went back into it, and then I came out, and I came out because I noticed I was sobbing. And when I came to, everyone was standing around me. Some of the people were crying. They were all telling me how much they loved me and how worthy of love I was. And they are so grateful that I'm here. And I don't think I ever allowed myself to ever receive that much love in my life. Like I never believed it. And I was just crying, hugging them, saying, I finally see it. I finally see it.
Wow.
Yeah. And then a couple of days later, remembered seeing this guide. I don't even know if it was, I don't even know if I see him, but I felt him. And his energy was just so beautiful. He was really strong, but gentle. And he had this way about like just telling stories about life and laughing. And he was so wise and just so humble and loving. And it was like I was sitting around the fire with this person or whoever, a guide, a being, someone in my future, someone from a past life. I have no idea, but I felt the energy and it felt like very like familiar. So it might be one of my guides. I don't even know. I didn't try to attach too many stories to it. But then the second time I was in a private ceremony because what happened there was like you just got to meet the medicine if it's your first time. And I really wanted to go all in. So my client and I had a private ceremony, and this time I received, we went and we walked all the way into the woods and picked sticks, and we like put our own sticks into the fire of like things we wanted to release, and then received the medicine. And again, I was just like, okay, I guess I'm going. And I went. I was more still this time on the outside, but inside it was really intense. I don't know what happened, but I experienced God. And
Mm.
it allowed me to release the contraction that I had around love for my whole life. And I was just feeling so much love. And it was so beautiful. And I looked and I opened my eyes and I was so grateful. And the weird thing was, the first thing that I thought was like, wow. And I was like thinking how much I would have loved for my previous partner to experience that, because I was feeling so much love for him in that moment. And it wasn't like just for him, but it was for everybody. But it was really like, wow, I just would love for him to experience this so much. It's so beautiful. And we all hugged, like me and the group, we just all hugged. And then I watched my friend have her experience, and hers was really intense. She was like face in the dirt, screaming. It was really intense. I don't want to say too much more because it's her experience, but
Yeah.
um, then we just sat a little bit and we talked, and he asked if we wanted to receive again, and I said yes. So he had us look at the sun, put our hands out and stare at the sun while we received it. And he said, project your soul into the sun. And I have no idea what happened with that one, but I was like purging, like spitting and like really deep stuff. So that's my bufo experience.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that with me.
Thank you for letting me share.
Yeah, wow. That's profound.
Hmm.
And what I love is the environments that you did them in. Like there was so much respect for the medicine.
Oh yeah. This couple is just, I'm so glad I had my
Ah,
experience with them.
wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Even the wisdom of like, yeah, now look in the sun and
Hmm.
project your soul into the sun. Like that's some serious,
Oh, he's no joke. He's an initiated
yeah.
shaman. He studied this. He really put his heart and soul into it. And this is like their work, right? They do other things too. They
Wow.
have other jobs so they don't have to make this like all about making a living. They don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So it's just so pure and so clean, and it's just so loving. And I don't know if that's um you probably don't find that in every bufo ceremony.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think you would. Like, especially depending on how available the medicine is. Like, if we look
Hmm.
at ayahuasca, for example, like there's lots of cowboy ayahuascans out there now, and just serving it whenever they want to serve it, and the energy is different because I hear on the grapevine from people that go and sit particular ceremonies, and whoever's leading it's not clean.
Mm-hmm.
Like they've kind of learned it a half and half.
Yeah.
Some like spirits told them that they can serve it now or whatever it is, and they're out there doing whatever it is that they do, but there's no the respect, the patience, and the wisdom is missing.
Yes.
And
Yes.
like
And those are
those
all really important things.
super important things, and being able to like map with the person like where they're at, be able to walk into their space, not interrupt their process, but just
Mm-hmm.
let them know like, hey, cool, yeah, I know where you're at, great, you know. And
Yes.
then in that example where people were standing around you, it's like making sure that no one's coming in to save you, right? Just keep your
Mm-hmm. Oh
distance.
yeah, they did. They were good with that.
So, and that takes a mastery
Oh
of
yes.
ceremony and the medicine to know how it's working in someone. And
Mm-hmm.
Lauren, that
I
was
agree
so
completely.
beautiful.
Thank
I,
you.
and what I also hear is like the the collective shadow of community as well being attended to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think so many people like they prefer being alone or that hermit because they're
Yeah.
afraid of the community component of betrayal or being overwhelmed or being not being listened to or being that
Judge.
outcast,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And what
Okay.
I hear is what that medicine did was, 'cause I'm going to attach a meaning to it, um, is like be able to open your heart to
Oh
like
yeah.
community in a way that you can't do it any other way,
Mm-mm.
right? Like
That was it.
it was it. That was it. That was your moment.
He
That
said
was
when they were hugging me, he was like, "We've been doing this for thousands and thousands of years. We just forgot in the West."
forgot. Jinky 33.
Yep. See? Uh-huh.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, that's so beautiful. Yeah, and I was jealous of it too. I'm like, I want that. I want where else can I go? How else can I make my heart even opener? But yeah, I'm gonna
Yours
find
is
myself some
pretty
bufo.
open.
Thank you, thank you. And I always feel there's more for me.
Uh-huh. Oh, I
I'm
feel like
like
there's always more. Mm-hmm.
always more. I desire more, more. So for me, my next medicine. Again, thank you for that. Did you want to add anything else more to your story? Because I
No,
don't want to segue away.
no.
Yeah, great. Yeah, so thank you so much for
Thank you for
sharing that.
asking.
I think it's a really powerful testimonial to sorry, not plant medicine, but medicines, like
Yeah, safe
and
medicine.
your journey to choose it, right? So you practice a plant life, and it's like, no, I need to make sure that this is what I need to do, right? It's not like
Mhm.
this. It's not like oh, I'm going to go do this because Joe Rogan spoke about it or whatever it is. Like, no, I need to do this because my soul, my being
Just
said this
telling
is in
me.
alignment.
Yep.
And
Hmm. One
jumping up,
thing
you
though
go.
that I do want to say about it is that the medicine is also what you're doing after to do your inner work.
Oh,
If you just go and do the ceremony and have these like peak experiences, you're not going to have the same results as I had.
yes.
And I'm not bragging or saying I'm better, but I'm just saying that
No.
like it's a lot of work in between, a lot of screaming in my cars, you know, like a lot of work. And
Thank
that's
you,
the
Lauren.
important piece for plant medicine that
Totally.
people really need to realize.
Yeah, the
Otherwise
integration
it
piece,
becomes so
totally.
popular.
Exactly. Like, and I do see I made a post recently about ecstatic experiences
Mhm. Oh, I saw that
where
this morning, I think. Yeah.
yeah, we're like just aiming for the ecstatic experience and assuming that you're healing at some level. No, like
Hmm.
medicines can clear the space out and create the somatic intention and the mind body alignment again to oh, this is the potential. You got to do the work. Like you got to be doing the
Yes.
screaming in the car. You got to be like looking at the integration, like, oh, that thing, that peace, that feeling, that whatever was there.
Mhm.
Otherwise, yeah, it's just peak experience to peak experience, and
Yes.
it's
Actually,
the
really quick, that's what I
illusion.
tell people about the twin flame experience because they think, oh, I had this like really high vibrational love for this amount of time. And I'm like, yeah, that was the peak experience. Now you have to do the work for that to be possible in your life again. Sorry.
Totally, totally.
Anyway, let's
So
get to your
so
plant story.
sorry, not sorry. Yeah, I'd love to do
Okay, I've
iboga.
never tried that one. I'd love to hear
Yeah,
about
the death medicine. There's something around death that's for me at the moment. There's
it.
something
Okay.
really important about yeah, dying. I feel it's what's missing right now in the collective is this fear of death. I'm really seeing, especially in relationships, like not being able to love someone in fear of if you open your heart so large,
Oh,
if they ever
yeah.
died, that you need to deal
Mm.
with the grief of loving them that hard. So if you can,
Wow.
yeah,
That's so common.
so
People won't
common.
open to love because they're afraid to lose it or they're afraid to lose themselves in it.
Totally. Especially
And
if
they'll,
you're it makes me
I get
angry and I
it.
have compassion around it and I get
Yeah.
it. And I'm like, well, how can I convince how can I enroll people into that there's relationships that are available to them if they want to open their heart and live an open-hearted life, but it requires you to like feel it all.
Hmm.
I all like love
Yeah.
this person, every atom of this person, and then if that person happens to die, you need to grieve every atom of that person.
Yes.
Or if
Ooh,
they get hurt, like the whole thing, like you got to be all in.
I used to,
Other right now, people that I'm working with and people in general, is not allowing them their old selves to die, which is with plant medicines. Like it's such a beautiful accelerator for
yes,
death,
it sure
right?
is.
I love shrooms, and I've had ayahuasca. I also love ape. I haven't had ape for a while. I had shrooms recently, but ultimately I take it when I feel like I need to go somewhere.
Hmm.
And there was a moment when I was solidly in it. Like ape is addictive. It's got nicotine in it,
Hmm.
and then I'll be serving myself all the time. And then I didn't realize I was just addicted to the nicotine and
Oh, shit.
the process of preparing it, right? Like
Oh,
there's a little
ritual gets
ritual,
addictive too. Hmm.
you get the container out, how
Yep.
much, yes, how much do I need? Yes, that's how much I need. And then just addicted to the
That's a habit
ritual.
that forms the ritual too.
Totally, totally.
Mm.
So in those plant medicine, APE is readily
Could you
available
tell me a
too.
little bit about Aboga?
Yeah, no, I want to do it. Like I want to do it.
Oh, you
I haven't
haven't done
done
it
it.
yet.
That's the
Okay.
one that I want to
Hmm.
do. So that's the next piece that I'm calling in for me is like is that medicine.
Mm.
There is a local practitioner, but the energy feels off for me.
Okay. Yeah, you
They're
gotta
not
follow that.
clean. So I'm like, I don't want to. I just wait, John. The
It'll
right
come
person will
when it's
come.
at the perfect moment, it will come. Have you worked with
Correct.
Sananga?
I have worked with
Oh my
Sananga. Yeah, I
God.
love Sananga.
Me too. I'm doing a 21-day dieta right now.
Ooh, nice,
That stuff is
nice.
gangster, man.
It is so gangster. There was when I was in the jungle with the
Hmm.
Yawanawas, yeah. Um, they served like um another plant that was called lightning eye, right?
Oh,
And
there's not that's not Sananga, different from
no,
Sananga,
there's
because
another one.
that means lightning in the eyes.
Right. So they
Oh
had
wow.
Sananga and they had something else. So one of the locals said, "Do you want to try something else?" There was a whole group of us. They get like they get the leaves, and then they had like the sap from the leaf. And they said, "Okay, tip your head back." Like, put this thing on my eye.
What
I
happened?
was, I was drooling like a baby. It was so painful. I'm like curled over, like just drooling with this pain in my eye, and it felt like so much
Ow.
like the only thing I could it was like a hot poker. And I've never had a hot poker in my eye, but just like but it's in one like it was localized in one point in my eye. Like I feel like Sananga, like I enjoy it. It kind of goes over the whole eye for me.
Yeah, it does.
But then the light, it's like that one spot right in my
That's
eye.
why
I'm
they
like,
call it lightning. Maybe I had that my first time because the medicine woman was like, "This is lightning in the eyes."
right. But
So
I
maybe
love
it's
it.
both because that was the most intense, but it might have also been the most intense because it was the first time. Were you on anything else when you received that?
uh, I was probably um, ayahuasca. It would have been. Wouldn't
Yeah,
it wasn't
same.
in synchronous, but it was like that day.
Hmm.
There was ceremony the night before and that day. Interesting, like that whole time when I was in the Amazon, they served Cambo, and for me, like
Oh
Cambo
yeah,
again,
I like
plant
it.
medicine, not for me. Like it's like I'll hang out with them. when they were
Mm.
doing it. Like they went and collected the frog and scraped the poison off and did the whole thing, which was really cool. And they
Oh,
also
you watched.
drank, watched the whole thing go down. They also had this a fermented cuss of a drink.
Are you plant-based? Do you practice plant-based diet?
No, no, I don't. No, I was raised a vegetarian,
Mm-hmm.
but I mix animal protein with my diet.
Okay. So it's not that you're just not called to work with them.
Yeah, not cool to work with them. Yeah, and it's interesting. So I'm like, yeah, I just got to trust
Oh,
that there's
gotta
something in that
trust
for me.
that.
I trust that.
So I would love to hear what you think about, since this is the Unity Project, divine union and
Yes.
what we are going into as we raise the vibration of love on this planet and of how we interact with each other in relationship, because it is going to happen.
Yeah.
There's so many people out there talking about relationships now. I mean, this was not like this 5 years ago.
Correct.
Huge.
Where do I see we? Yeah, where do I see we going? Ah, yeah, where I see we're going is individuals taking on the responsibility and the accountability of what their relationships are, down to who they are as a person. So a person seeing that my relationships are a net sum of who I am,
Mm-hmm. Totally.
and being able to choose people in their life, not only intimate partners, community, family, soul family, blood family, and the world at large, people that resonate with them or people that challenge them, and then speaking to that challenge, whatever it is.
Mm.
So, like, if you want content for inner work, it's your family system. You can't escape it. If you want to remember what you were like in your family system, there's plenty of content there to establish who you want to be as a person. So, divine union wise, I see individuals getting together with a vision of not only what each individual wants, what they want to create as a couple,
Mm-hmm.
then what they want to create as a couple in a community, and then what they
Yeah.
want to create in a community in the world at large.
Because that third energy is also an entity. And that third energy, if you nourish it, you can tap into a wellspring of inspiration over and over and over that just lasts and lasts and lasts. And it only gets bigger the more. So the more you nourish it, you can take from it and it will just keep.
100%, 100%. Yeah, like anything, you water and you nurture.
Mhm.
You have the intention, you have the initiation, you have your rupture and your repair systems, your
Yes.
maintenance, like whatever it is. Like if you need to like put it in a bigger pot, you put it in a bigger pot. Like it's effectively a plant. You got to water it, you got to prune it, and then you're allowed to collect the fruits from it. You know, the sap or whatever it is, the nectar, whatever's
Beautiful.
there. You know, it's.
Hmm.
I think there's a yeah, and yeah, you're right. Like 5 years ago, we weren't speaking about relationships. It wasn't
Yeah.
on the horizon. There was, um, I see that you'd have people going into therapy to repair relationships,
Yeah,
but
but
right
not.
now, there's this tipping point of like, no, like there's another way.
Love
There's
it.
something
Mhm.
else that we can create here that's beyond what we've ever had before.
Yes. So projecting, but I can't help but to think what's going to be like in like 5 years or 10 years, because it really kind of feels like we are on the precipice of something big. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
It feels like really unknown. It feels like more so than anything else. It just feels like we're on the precipice of like a really huge shift.
Yeah, I agree. Like for me, I always look to Pluto to where the big shifts are
Hmm.
coming, and I,
Entering, is it
yeah,
in
it's
the seventh
entering into
house or
it's
fifth
entering into
house?
Aquarius
Hmm.
next.
Okay.
So it's coming out of Capricorn. I'm pretty sure it's in Aquarius next. Yeah, yeah, because I've got a
Okay.
mate who's an Aquarian, and I made a joke to him. And so like for me, like all the Capricorns have been dealing with Pluto for like the past decade plus.
Mm,
Of like,
mhm.
okay, we know this tower energy. We know it's crumbling, and then now it's transitioning. It's March or April. It's depending if you're tropical or sidereal. It's transitioning. So Pluto has historically been associated with like all kinds of revolutions
Oh yeah. Okay.
and ways of being. So we are on the precipice, and for me, like I'm always like push the precipice, keep up,
I'm
hit
ready.
it,
Yeah.
next thing,
Get
hit
it.
it, next thing, next thing, next thing. I'm like, yeah, let's turn this baby on, like let's really
I'm ready to
like
activate it fully.
totally. And I really feel there's so many people around the world that are operating as pillars to ground in this new relational
Mhm.
energy,
I think so.
right?
That's like my life purpose, you know, even though,
Totally.
and I say this, and like months and months ago, I would have said, how can I say that as a person who's unpartnered at the moment? But it's just not true because it's everything I do. Like all about union. Union within is really my work right now.
Totally.
You know?
I love that. I love that you spoke to that too, Lauren. Like there's like this piece around like credibility
Mm-hmm.
and then how could you teach about relationships when you're not in a partnership? I was like, well, that partnership is one part of a relationship dynamic. Who are you to
Yes.
yourself?
Right.
Right. That's the most, it's always the
Absolutely.
most at the ground, at the grassroots, it's the individual.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you? Who are you? Then also in that, there's, well, if you are in a partnership and you're in the relationship space, like, is your relationship out of integrity? Are you trying to maintain credibility by appearing
Because
to the relationship because of your
I'm sure a
brand or
lot of
because
people do
of,
that.
I think they do too. And like for me, like I know they do. Like
Mm-hmm.
I have my ear to the ground. I know I'm part of that rumor mill. I know what's on the grapevine. I can see it. And
Yeah.
in that, I'm like, cool. Like, do you guys want to stay that way, or do you want to like either end it or repair it, bring it into
Seriously, like
integrity?
why? You're making yourself miserable, maybe not miserable, but
Miserable.
it's a
It
lot
is.
less happy than you could be, a lot less peace than you could have, and you're creating this yourself.
Totally. This, and it makes me sad because the out of the anger is the sadness of
Mm-hmm.
like you can have an incredible life. Like don't like you don't need to stay in the sadness. Move through it. Identify what's making you sad and address it. And
Yes.
sometimes it's as simple as a conversation.
Go
And
into
like,
it.
and I know people that are in the embodiment and sexuality space, and their partners are still addicted to porn. So I was
Wow.
like, okay, and they're like, okay, cool, they speak against it, but their partner's still doing it. And there's this piece around, cool. All right, I love my partner for who they are. They've got their journey, sure. And you also, the relationship is now two of you. So your partner's energy, you can't help but infiltrate you
Yeah.
if they're doing something that's out of integrity or whatever. It's like,
And
hey,
you're doing something that's out of integrity by speaking on that and by saying like,
totally,
no, we don't do porn in our relationship. I mean, that's a lie.
exactly, that you
And for
nailed it.
what? To say, buy my program because this is what we do and we're going to tell you how we live, but that's not how we live.
Exactly,
Authenticity, like you can feel truth,
totally,
you know?
totally,
And
totally,
there's a way where we can't be like authentic about like everything, like and put all of our business out there, and some business should be kept. But if it's like the total polar opposite of what you're preaching, like you have to be an embodiment of what your work. You have to be.
totally. Otherwise, you don't have the conviction to
Right.
sell it. Like, and that's the conviction piece again. Like, you can learn all the sales technology in the world, learn how to deal with objections, all that kind of stuff. If
Hmm.
you can't transfer your belief that your product is for this person and you 100% believe that you can solve their problem with their product, with your
Yeah.
product, then you can't. It's not going to work. That's when you get
No.
people pulling out of your
I see when I
programs
do that
and
myself, when I have imposter syndrome and I contract a little bit. Yep.
yeah, and it's ongoing, right? Especially when you're first starting out, it's ongoing. But
Yes.
is my product the thing? Like I've got my credentials now, but do I have the skill to help this person?
Hmm.
Can I do this? And then you do it, you do one person, you're like, damn,
Yeah.
look at this person's transformation. And sure, like the individual has their own transformation. And I helped create the container for that. I'm the one that helped agitate them to see what their issues were in their life and got them the breakthrough. So, like, in order to own that, and this is the spiritual piece again, like the ego, is like, in order to really embody who you are and replace the imposter syndrome with that pure embodiment of your capabilities and your efficacy and your art, your mastery, requires you to take on whatever your transformations have been, right? So even that guy that was serving the medicine, the bufo, it's like when he first started out, like the little things and the mistakes, and who was mentoring him, like showing him the way. And at some point, he's become unconsciously competent in that
Yes,
skill.
unconsciously
Right?
competent. I like that.
And it's the same thing in divine union. It's like, cool. Now I'm unconsciously competent in connection, in relation. So I can have a conversation. I'm like, hey, I can touch my partner on her shoulder and say, hey, like, are you okay right now? Or apologize, like, hey, I was a bit snappy before, or plan to have the conversation later. Like for Cassie, it's like,
Yeah.
hey, can we have this conversation later? Right? Or just be able to speak to
Important.
what's there, you
Because we
know?
all want relationships. So, like, that's all everybody wants is love and relationship, but we feel like we just shouldn't have to put effort in it. We shouldn't have to be this, like, a better version of ourselves. We shouldn't have to improve ourselves to have love. No,
Mm.
you don't have to. And you'll get the kind of love at that level that you're at.
Totally. Totally.
That's fine. A lot of people are doing that. But if you want a divine love, you have to clear your vessel. In order to follow our heart and listen to our heart, we also have to clear a lot of stuff. So it's so tricky.
It is. It's super tricky, and like relationships are the fastest crucible for that. I see,
Oh,
whether
yeah.
whether it's yourself or with community or reflecting on all of your relationships in the past. Like you
Hmm.
have enough content. You have
You
enough content in
totally
you.
do. Yeah, I'm good. I learned
Yeah, I'm good.
so
I've learned
much
so much, right?
from
And
the
it's
last
just
one.
it's just being present to it all, right? Which requires space and reflection and patience. And for me, I love interrogating people about their past.
Hmm.
Interrogating, right? It's like, cool. Like, so how did your last relationship end? Do you remember what happened?
Yeah.
Like, are you still talking with each other? Like, how was the closure on that relationship? What were the common arguments that you had? Did you ever argue about religion or sexual intimacy? Did your partner ever get with keep in contact with their exes?
Hmm.
Like, there's like a series of questions that you can start to ask that really, oh my God, I don't have an answer to that. It can get people really frustrated and
Yeah. And it's like, well, why don't you
feeling
have the answer? You experienced it.
exactly. And that's the work, right? That's the work.
Hmm.
Why? The why and the feeling. And it
Hmm.
always comes back to the family of origin dynamic. Always, well, most of the time.
Oh, yeah. No,
It's
a
like
lot.
it's like cool. Yeah, my brother, my sister, my dad. I've got a friend who part of her relationship journey, like she got shamed for doing for being away with a partner somewhere else, and then she got shamed for being away from this partner when they were at a family event.
Hmm.
Publicly shamed, and public shaming of sexuality is such a core injury,
Oh, yeah.
and to repair
Was
that.
that like a recent?
No, it was years as
Okay.
teenage. This is like
Okay. So, but it's still
teenage
stuck
years.
with her. Yeah.
Still stuck with her, right? Like her sexuality was wrong. Her impulse
Mm-hmm.
was to go away and like fool around with this guy, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then when she came back, like being shamed by a parental figure because
Oh,
the parental figure knew where she'd gone, and
yeah.
but doing it publicly. So there's like this multi-generational shaming of a sexual impulse, which is a core injury. And like the sexual
Wow.
energy
But that's
is
common.
it's so common, so common.
Yeah.
And this the same thing plays out in religion where you have like forced celibacy,
Mm-hmm.
where when you deny and suppress your sexual urges,
There
it
it is.
comes out in some other way. You
Yep.
you need to honor it. And honoring it doesn't mean like honoring it, like pulling it out and rubbing one out. Honoring it means, cool, what's actually present for me right now? What's going on for me? And speaking about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Reducing, discharging the shame of your biological impulse,
Mm.
which is like a childhood thing.
It so is. And like how like a lot of people have struggled to communicate with each other during sex. Like not
Yeah,
even say like what your deep experience is and just be very focused on the end goal. So when each person is really focused on the end goal, they're not in the experience together. They're using
totally.
each other's bodies to
Yeah,
masturbate. And they can't really say like looking into one another's eyes and like really having that like communication, not all the time, but if something's coming up. A lot of like healing work can be done that way, I think.
totally. And open-hearted work too, because to look
Hmm.
into someone's eyes,
Because
if
the
the other
cervix
person,
opens the heart too. So you could have like good cervical sex while really looking into their eyes. And I was listening to something the other day, I think it was Guru Jagat, and she was saying that Yogi Bhajan said that like once you do that, he called it the 7 bridges or something, won't be erased from a woman's system for like 7 years. Like that, she will love that guy for 7 years if he opened her heart through her cervix. I was like, well, damn. Got 6 left to go.
their target vision, open my heart. And the thing in the
But she said it's
and
worth it, you know?
totally.
Yeah.
And in order for to do that, right, like the guy needs to have an element of presence and also be in tune
Oh,
with his dick too.
100.
Doubling back to the physical intimacy piece and guys. So what I see, which is quite common in the spiritual community, is like this piece where the guy can be moderately in tune with his sexuality, but then doesn't have a purpose.
Yeah.
These
Oh,
guys that
right.
do all this tantra work and like know how to like microcosmic orbit them way into wherever. But then when
Mm-hmm.
it boils down to being able actually be able to support a
Mm.
partner and whatever that looks like, they can't do it.
Yeah.
The kind of multiple relationships at the moment that have failed that are even in our spiritual space because the guy just doesn't know how to be emotionally available for the partner.
There it is. It's not just like financially, it's emotionally too. And the man can have a purpose, but still not to know how to be emotionally available.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think that there's a, and again, this is a relationship piece. Like, what's the
Mhm.
relationship with yourself? What's the relationship with your business,
Oh,
your
it's all about
identity?
that. Yeah.
All about that. All about that. And again, anger and sadness, there's help available. Like doing more, like if your business is failing, doing more work in your business might not be the thing. You might actually need to look at your relationships.
Mm.
Know, if your relationships are
Mhm.
failing, doing more work on your relationships might not be the thing. It could be some other area of your life that's out of alignment. It could be
Wow.
health. It
That's
could
a
be
good
something
point.
else. So everything, because I see it as a web, an interconnected web. So one piece can be out of balance. So you focus on that piece until you stitch it back together again. Cool. And then something else can like fall out. So you can stitch that piece back together again.
Mhm.
So if there's the assumption that where we're spending our energy is where we need to go isn't always correct.
No, important thing is not that the action can't be too forced. Like it has to
Correct.
be aligned.
Correct.
There's a lot of ways where we do like the really masculine way and just force and plummet through it, and nothing really comes because we're using an energy that is like a restricted, like a from fear.
Totally. And for me, that's where I'm at right now with my content creation. So I need to take a step back. And for
Mm-hmm.
me, like I've hardwired myself to create content over the past years. I'm like, cool idea, great, make content. Idea,
Yeah,
content. Now it's like, cool,
you put
John,
out a lot.
just I lot. Like I've got books worth on my socials. So now it's like, John, take a step back, like just allow something else to grow. Otherwise, this is the image that's coming through is like over tilling the soil. So taking that step back is my next journey in my business in particular. It's like,
Beautiful.
cool, let's take a step
That's,
back.
I remember last time your next step in your business was becoming more fierce. Real quick, can we talk about surrender before we wrap it up?
Please, yeah, it's perfect. Yeah.
Okay. So, I would love to hear about your relationship to surrender.
Ah, okay. Cool. So I don't know if I spoke about this in our last podcast, but my most potent experience of surrender was by a humiliatrix. in a BDSM. So for me, like being able to let go has been an intellectual thing for me. It's like, yeah, just surrender, just surrender. In the meantime, I'm like ticking away in the back of my head, like,
Mhm.
how can I make this thing work another way? So I was at this BDSM kink night, and there was a humiliatrix there, and she brought her this wooden device that you could sit in, and she would blindfold
Wow.
you and tie you up. So at the end of it, we did all these exercises, and it was great. Like it was a lot of fun, connecting with people, like blindfolding, like it's a really sensual experience. And at the end of the night, we had like open temple, which is where you have areas of the room that are set up for specific things, which like cuddles or um, some kind of kink play or whipping or whatever it was. So when this part of the night started, I went straight to the humiliatrix and said, "I'm going to be in that chair." And she said, "Great. Choose your weapons. Like choose what things that you want me to use on you." So I picked all these things like rope and spiky things, the whole assortment of weaponry for her to use on me. And so she tied me up and she started to go to work on me, like whipping me and telling me asking me if it was too hard or too soft. And then she'd take it to an edge and then like to find out where my edge was. And then what would happen is occasionally somebody else would come over, and I could recognize the voice of who it was. But they would ask for consent. John, can I do this to you? And then like grab something and like drag it across my body. I was blindfolded,
Wow.
but the transformational part, and I was like half naked. I had like a sarong on, and there was a point of the night where um, she was hurting me, and I went to like bite her, like did that, and then she put her whole fist in my mouth and like just took complete control of me, and I was like, oh wow, like she's good at this. And
Wow.
then she stepped away and she started whispering to another one of the facilitators, and she mentioned my name in that whispering, and I lost my shit. Like for me to be whispered about, that to be
Mm.
humiliated like that, I was like, what secrets are you saying? Like I was half naked, like it's super vulnerable. And then I knew what she was doing. I worked it out,
Oh, it was the whole
a whole thing. But
plan.
I was rageful. Like I had my arms tied, and I wanted to get out of this thing and hurt her. I was
Wow.
like, I could hurt her right now. And and then once I
Wow.
was with it all, that's when I had this surrender piece. And
Mm.
it was a public humiliation surrender piece, around like a woman whispering about me behind my back, like spreading rumors or whatever it is. When I just let go, I surrendered in that moment. I'm like, I'm good. But I needed to go through the rage and then ground myself in that moment, which I had the tools to do that beforehand, but just feel it
Wow.
all. And then I
You
just
can feel the
laughed.
opening that you're talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah. And
Damn.
I just broke out after I moved through it and had that transcendental experience. I just laughed. I just burst out laughing because
Yes.
I worked it all out. I was like, oh my God, I feel so free in
Woo.
doing this. But yeah, that's been my journey with surrender is somatic. It has to be somatic.
Yes, mine too.
Um,
Has to be
it
100%.
has to be. And like just super quick, I had a client, I was pre-qualifying a client, and she said to me that she spent like 20 grand on another relationship coach.
Oh,
And I
wow.
was like, oh my God, like, that's a lot of money to spend. And she didn't get the outcome that she wanted. She didn't get a
Mm.
partner.
Damn.
So I'm like, straight away, I'm like, oh, that's so devastating. And then knowing that she needed to, I would not be able to move through that negative experience for her in order for her to work with me. I just
Mm-hmm.
knew straight away she's already got this block. I'm not spending any more money on relationship coaching, and I knew I could help her. And what I needed to do was I needed to refer her out. Intuitively, I was like, she doesn't need my help right now. She needs somatic help. And I've got a
Mm-hmm.
friend who does shibari.
Okay.
And a few days ago, before this pre-qualifying client came to speak to me, I asked her. So her name's Bree, and I said, Bree, in your shibari, how would you join like a pelvic heart split, like someone who can't give their heart and sexuality to one person. You have a person on the side that they're
Mm,
emotionally with,
that's common too. Yeah.
and then there's a sexuality piece where the sexuality belongs to somebody else. And then when they're in relation, they can't quite wholly commit to this person. They're like talking to exes and other things, and they're
Yeah.
not really sexually attracted to them. And she said, "Yeah, you know what I'd do? I'd probably like tie." Like she had this whole idea around where to tie the knots for shibari, so it touches on the pressure points, where to pull the rope up, this whole thing. And I was like, yeah, great. I know I can use you now as a referral to people that I know need a
Yes.
somatic journey
Experience of
into join
surrender.
this pill. Totally. And she's great at making women in particular surrender. So it's
Wow.
a whole for the whole process
That's
of
cool.
shibari. Yeah. And I'm like, great. Because I think there's a type of person that can get in their head
Oh,
around how to navigate relationships. Like there's know how to anxious, avoidant, attachment injury, this and that. Oh, you're saying this because of this and that and that. But yeah, but somatically, what's actually
oh.
going on for you right
Totally.
now?
Oh yeah. We tend
Go
to
get
disregard that.
totally go get tied up. Go do some somatic work or some embodied yoga.
Yes. Did I tell you that you read that I'm teaching that, right? At the Tantra
I did
Festival.
read that. Yes.
I'm so excited. It just really kind of fell in my lap. This girl was on a local Facebook group asking if there were any yoga teachers available to do the festival. And I told her what I did, and she was like, wow, that sounds amazing. And it just like totally aligned. So,
Love
and
it.
what I love about that is my core wound was addiction in in the gene keys. And my first boyfriend ever, I used to stay in fantasy and make up these dances for him in my room because he was a ballerina. And I was 16. I lost my virginity to him. He was the first guy I kissed and everything. And we reconnected and we had a 3 year relationship. So I got to unwind all those patterns. And then, but I was still really great at fantasy. I could write a whole novel from a text message. I had like fantasy relationships with rock stars. It was just a childhood coping mechanism.
Yeah.
But I unwound that. But there's still that energy. Like when you unwind a pattern, the energy like has to be put into something else, I feel like. So there was still a lot of that creative energy. And this time, when I experienced the sudden severance of a connection that was just going really amazing, like absolutely nothing was wrong. Um, I created that practice for that. So it was kind of like alchemizing that little pattern there from addiction into invention, because now I'm using that energy to create something that's of service instead of allowing it to just like, yeah, I'm going to stay in my little fantasy patterns. I'm using that same energy to create things that actually work for people.
That's
So,
potent. I love that. I love
yeah.
that. And you've used the gene keys as a platform to like create the
Yeah.
structure around to do that.
The
That's
gene keys are
powerful.
amazing. I love the gene keys
Yeah.
so much.
Mm.
Was there anything else that wants to
I'm complete. I'm
you
so complete.
complete? Me
Yeah.
too. This was amazing. Thank you so much. I really love our chats. They flow really nice and it's just packed with really good content. You're freaking brilliant, man. I really appreciate
Oh, Lauren, thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for creating this container. Like I
it.
love it.
Yes.
I love what you do, and so keen to see where else you go. Like
Yeah, I'm
this is
excited to see that for you too.
like precipice. What's next? Yeah, what's next?
Yes.